and welcome to the Wednesday Lineup Builder and Listener Questions Show presented by DraftKings Reignmakers. It is the RBC Heritage Week. I am still suffering a little bit of a Masters hangover. Got my Tuesday strategy article out earlier this morning, so a little later than will be the anticipated timeline for the content schedule for the Rainmakers Fantasy Golf Show and all of the golf content each and every week coming from us at OTM. Again, to recap that, Mondays, TJ and I will be doing the review, the recap and preview show. We'll recap the previous tournament. We'll talk a little bit about the tournament ahead. And then Tuesday comes out the strategy article. And then today will be focused on solo show, listener questions, and building some teams in the lineup builder on otmnft.com. So if you haven't, head on over there, build your teams there. I find it to be just a bit easier than building on DraftKings, able to see your entire collection, able to take a look at swapping in and out rares, cores, elites, and just easier to envision how you want to structure your team. Shout out to those in the Discord that have been sharing all their teams this week. Some of the questions I'll get and cover here on the show got from the Discord this morning. Things like, should I build if I'm building two core teams, should I build one kind of power team with everybody that is the best of the best, and then another team? I think there's different strategies there based on who you're putting together. But, in my article that I wrote this morning, I think one thing I wanted to remind us 7 weeks into the Rainmakers game is, if you were lucky enough to pull a John Rahm, if you're lucky enough to pull a Scotty Scheffler, Xander, I'm just looking at the odds here. Scotty, Rahm, Cantlay, Hovland, Morikawa, Schauffele, Finau, you're just playing those cards. That there is just no reason to overthink it, no reason to try to get cute. Play those cards, likely captain those cards, and then get different with golfer 4 or golfer 5. I think that's where you can differentiate, even if the likes of Rahm, Scheffler, Cantlay, Hovland are going to be 20 to 25% owned. I don't think you have to fade them in the game. I think you can get different in lineup 5 or in your lineup spot 5, if you will, with golfer number 5. So interesting way to think about lineups. Wanted to cover a quick few things on the course this week. RBC Heritage played at Harbor Town Golf Links in lovely Hilton Head, South Carolina. One of the more unique courses on the PGA Tour, because it's really not a driver fest. A lot of guys will pull much less than driver off the tee and on many holes around this course. So a lot more of a second shot golf course, sets up where you need to be really strong with your irons on approaches. It also bodes some small greens, some of the smallest greens on the PGA Tour. You would think that would mean that around the green play is increased, and it certainly might be a tick, but most of the shots around these greens are pretty straightforward shots. It's not a golf course like we just saw at Augusta National, where you need kind of every shot in the bag around the greens at Augusta. With how fast the greens run, with how much slope there is, you just sort of need way more in your arsenal of shots that you won't necessarily need around Harbor Town. Should be pretty straightforward. Jordan Spieth won this golf tournament last year. Shout out Jordan Spieth, not in Rainmakers, sadly, but won this golf tournament, and he lost strokes with the putter, which is pretty crazy to say, that he was able to get around the golf course and not only, play well, but win the golf course while losing strokes putting. That just doesn't happen very often on the PGA Tour. So putting and around the green play, certainly important, but maybe not the most important. I think Spieth is a bit of an outlier. You'll need to putt well to win on the PGA Tour. And this week's field is just much stronger than the field that played the RBC last year. Of course, this week is another, and I keep changing the word because the PGA Tour keeps changing the word. They can't seem to decide between elevated or designated. Most of what I'm reading these days, they are using the word designated. It is another designated event. There is $20 million prize pool for the golfers. And when $20 million is up for grabs, all of the best players in the world are going to want to tee it up. 17 out of the 20 best players in the world tee it up this week. It is a full field, 145 golfers. I believe there was 147. We've had a couple withdrawals. Rory is the significant figure that has withdrawn. I think one thing to note, I thought, just because it was such a great quote that came out this morning, John Rahm won the Masters, paraded around, did Good Morning America, did other media that I'm sure he was obligated to do when you win the Masters. I'm sure he was happy about doing it, but I'm sure he's also exhausted. John Rahm is in the field this week. He was quoted this morning saying, the question was, why are you playing and staying committed to the RBC Heritage? And he said, I made a commitment at the beginning of the season to play and get together with the best players in the world in these elevated events. And I'm not only thinking about the fans, but also the kids. If I was a kid and I was coming to the RBC Heritage, I would certainly want to see the Masters champion, was his quote. Just a phenomenal quote from somebody who is on the top of the golf world, is the best player in the world, and just awesome to see Rahm teeing it up in this field. Will there be a Masters hangover is kind of what we're thinking in the fantasy community. There could be, most definitely, but like I said in my article, I don't think we get too cute. If you have Rahm, I'd be captaining John Rahm in pretty much any of the teams that I would be building this week. Okay, that does it for a little bit of an intro there. Head on over, take a look at that article. I typically break down the players that I will give out by odds buckets, the best odds, people that have, sub 2000, sub plus 2000 odds, then the middle tier where it's roughly plus 2000 to plus 9,000 or plus 10,000, and then sort of a long shot, anybody plus 10,000 and below. I picked Colin Morikawa in the top tier. I went with now I'm blanking who I went with in the mid tier. I went with JT Poston in the mid tier, who has fantastic course history. And at the bottom tier, I went with Adam Svensson to get back into the form that he was in prior to the Masters. Missed the cut at the Masters, but it was his first time around. So head on over to otmnft.com and check out that article for any other bits of information specific to why I made those selections. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to go through some of the lineups that I've built thus far for my collection. Of note, I did add to my elite collection for this tournament. I could build one team comfortably, had two additional elites left over. I wasn't going to add to my collection, and then noticed that both Brian Harman and Billy Horschel ranked really high in the FedEx Cup rankings, ranked fairly high in the World Golf rankings, should be playing pretty much every designated event, and should be playing the majority of the majors, of which all have the deluxe prize pools for DraftKings. So went over and made a decision between Horschel and Harman. Ended up going with Brian Harman. Thought he might fit this golf course a little bit better. They actually have very similar course history, but thought Harman fit my collection, the mold of the kind of golfer that I wanted a bit more. So added Brian Harman and built a second elite team. Okay, let me share my screen here. I'm going to navigate through some of the tools on our site, otmnft.com. I'm going to showcase all of the tools here and then kind of focus on the lineup builder for the latter half of the show. So if you come to otmnft.com, the first thing you'll see is our packs page. This will show you, yes, DraftKings still has approach packs available at the rare, elite, and legendary tier for this week. I like the manner in which these approach packs are coming out. Good for anybody that's new to Rainmakers, that's adding to their collection, and anybody that wants to try to bolster their collection with some of these packs. $24.99 for rare pack, $249.99 for an elite pack, $14.99 for a legendary pack. You can see the details here: costs, price to you, low ask of any packs that are currently in the marketplace, expected value of the pack. And this is where people are spending a lot of their time. So this expected value takes all of the golfers that were in the CSV file that DraftKings provides. It then gives you the low ask of those golfers. It starts by giving you the low ask at the specific tier. So low ask of the core, low ask of the rare, low ask of the elite, low ask of legendary. And then as packs are opened, it switches to give you the low ask of this actual cards in the approach pack. But this gives you the expected value. You can see how many are still out there versus how many have been opened. So these rare packs still out there. This rare pack here, the 413 pack is out there. The 46 pack has sold. It looks like the rare pack is sold out. So only the elite pack and the legendary pack left over. So 0 rare packs out there. Looks like you got to go to the secondary marketplace if you want to pick up any of these $900 or $99 packs that are unopened. Better EV here in this pack from the Masters week because of a different golfer set. So those are $97 to the low ask, $98 and $32 for this week's approach packs. So you can head on over. There's 900 packs available in secondary. You can still buy from DraftKings at the elite and legendary level, 1,600 packs and 1,100 packs left over. This simulator gives you a little bit of an opportunity to try opening the packs. A lot of the people I know watching the show have been loving the simulator. We'll simulate a pack of the booster here. So this is what's left in booster packs. Gives you the low ask by the tier, gives you a simulated set of outcomes for what is available still in packs and the percentage that you would get, a specific golfer. So fun to use the simulator tool. Can then select your pack if you want to open, let's say this week's rare pack, select your pack. You'll see it changes 2023 approach flop shot rare pack from this week. Simulate your pack opening, and this pack would be worth $26. So a little bit of a plus EV pack here. Don't mind a JJ Spawn rare. Think Sepp Straka is playing pretty good. Not sure you're caring too much about McGreevy or Kisner, just not the best there. So you can re-roll, get a feeling for the outcomes of the packs. And then this shows you in this pack what's available. So there's still 15 Scotty Scheffler rares in this rare pack. There's of the 15 total, there's 2 remaining. So there's really only a 0.43% chance that you would be pulling a Scotty. 5 out of the 15 that total John Rahms are still available in packs, 1% chance to pull them. So take a look at that. Then you come over to our players tab. This just gives you every player in Reignmakers. It gives you your collection. And if you own them, gives you their world golf ranking. It gives you status. This week, Rory has withdrawn, so he's out. Gives you their odds for the current week. And then low asks at the different tiers. This is where I spend a good bit of my time trying to understand if I need to add to my collection for the current week. This is where I'm using this players page to try to understand, interpret, by pricing, say at the rare level at the top, where is there a gap where odds differentiate from low ask? And if I want to pick up somebody, that might be how I use this tool to then fill in holes that I think are in my collection. Market just gives you overview of the market data, gives you the specific player, and this is a booster core. You can sort on 4-hour volume, so you're able to see who's down versus who's up in the 4-hour. Nate Lashley up, and some of this has to do with listings, but you can see details like listing data, percent listed. 24-hour volume gives you the amount of buys that have happened in that 24-hour period. So gives you a good view of what's happening in the market. Leverage these filters on the left here to get good insight. Maybe you're focused on rares. You can filter based on rare or elites. You can filter based on specific golfers that you might want to look at. You're able to get a good sense of market detail. Sniper, I'll go quick here. Sniper is just going to show you all of the listings that pop up. They'll show you what the low ask is and what the listed price is. So as you can see on this Matt Kuchar, it was $50. This card number 169 of the approach set, the rare, was listed for $49.46. So that's the new low ask on that card. You can click buy. That will take you directly to the DraftKings marketplace to then buy that card. Okay, collection. This is where I spend a good bit of my time prior to the tournament because you're able to see odds here. So this is your collection. Who do I have playing in my collection that has the best odds? I've got a Scotty Scheffler starter, so he's the best player in my collection. But you're able to look at who you might have at Elite. Let's use Elite filter. I've got JT Poston in my collection. I added that Brian Harman I talked about at the beginning of the show. This just shows you odds of who's playing and how you might want to add to your collection at any individual level. Also adds up your low ask, so gives you your portfolio value, which is going to change based on listed low ask, based on added supply. This is simply just the low ask of your portfolio added up together. Shows you number of cards at each level and total number of cards owned. People have asked if you buy a card, it usually does show up in your portfolio right away. You can use this little sync button right here. Click sync. That should sync up your collection with DraftKings once you've established and connected your account. And then that should show you any new cards that you purchased. All right, let's spend some time in the lineup builder here and go through how I've built some of my teams. Okay, so I'm going to go to DraftKings because you can save lineups, but I actually cleared out all of my lineups. Going to go to DraftKings. We'll go bottom up here and show my elite lineups first. So 2 lineups that I built, thinking about contest selection, 2 contests that I really focus on at the elite level, 100K guaranteed, and then the prize pack party. I did have a thought last night that as I was entering teams, I would maybe put this lineup here into the single entry contest. I have rethought that. I put it in the pack party. And I think the reason why is 1, single entry, you have to beat my initial logic was single entry, you have to beat less people. So if I get something like Adam Svensson to top 3 and have him as my captain, there's probably not a lot of people captaining Adam Svensson. And if I get that right, because you have to beat less people, that helps you to run up the leaderboard a bit more than in the guaranteed. That said, it just looked like it was going to fill up to a point where the in the money percentage was rather low. It's still pretty early in the season. I'm still trying to add to my elite collection. So I would play a contest that looks like it's going to be a bit more than a 50-50, but somewhere in the 40% in the money percentage. So I'm only needing to beat 40% of people to land in the money and get that elite pack and open it, add to my collection, maybe try to sell it. But I think that made more sense for me at the time. So I'm going to go build these teams over here, coming back to the builder, add a lineup. You build your captain first, as you can see on the right. So I decided in my first lineup, I love JT Poston this week. Great course history. Has only missed the cut 1 time in the last 4 years. I believe his finishes are T3, T6, T8. So 3 top 10 finishes in the last 4 years. Pretty good. Like him as my captain. Went with Adam Scott and then added Brian Harman because I think just the way that my golfers are, I'm just kind of using DraftKings odds, I'm using DraftKings odds from the betting market. I think it's probably the most efficient, aligns to DraftKings pricing from a fantasy standpoint. So just going to plug Brian Harman in there. And then my 2 rares, I think this is the highest. I'm trying to look for the highest upside here. This is in the biggest contest at the elite level. So I just went ahead, plugged in Max Homa, plugged in Tom Kim, saved that lineup, and that was sort of my elite, my 1 lineup I'm going to enter into the elite guaranteed. That sort of only leaves me, you can see these guys are grayed out. I'm not able to use them again. That leaves me 1 other lineup to be built, which was Adam Svensson, Emiliano Grillo, Adam Schenk, and then rares. I believe I went, Poston and Power here. Poston, again, pretty bullish on him and his course history. So came down and went Poston. and then went Seamus Power. So those were my 2 elites lineups that I did. Save this lineup and then got into rare. And I think this is where rare and core, this is where this tool is really helpful when you're building 3, 4, 5. I mean, some of you guys are out there building 10 lineups in these contests. It is quite a challenge to look at the DraftKings UI, understand who and what, who you're putting into your lineup, why you're putting them into your lineup. So this just gives you a shot to build and then move people around. So I'm just going to kind of build randomly here and add in a core. I'm going to add in a Scotty and then add another lineup, add in my Connors, Henley, Mackenzie Hughes, Lanto Griffin, and let's say I want to use Victor Hovland. I don't think I built my teams like this, but just for purposes of showing the tool, when you come over here and you have your lineups built, let's say I want to take Corey Connors from this lineup and I want to get him up here. If you click him, he will go out of your lineup back into your player pool, free up a spot on this lineup. Seamus Power as captain. Let's not do that. I want to go with Connors as captain. Come back to Connors. You can see the green sort of highlighted bar shows me where I am and how I'm building my team. And so then I've got Connors, Hoagie, Siwoo, KH Lee, and then using my starter, Scotty Scheffler, up in a rare contests just because there's more prize money. End up looking at that lineup, being comfortable with it, saving it, and then trying to figure out, okay, where do I want to go here? Maybe I want to go Henley captain. I like Henley this week. I think a lot of people have said he continues to gain strokes with the putter, which is always a little bit, makes you a little bit hesitant, but Henley has been ball striking really, really well as of late. He may catch some steam because of his Masters finish, but Henley, it's also a bit of a home game. He's a Georgia guy. I believe his wife is from South Carolina. Like a little bit of the home narrative here for a rare captain. So I believe I did build a Henley rare captain. Let's see here. Yeah, I built a Henley rare captain, put it in the single entry. And at rare, this is where I'm taking some additional shots, trying to understand more about contest selection, what it takes to win at these different contests. I personally haven't done enough evaluating different contests and who's winning, what's the percentage of players, and how does ownership shake out at these different contests. So decided to play some rare single entry this week. Henley, like Lucas Herbert, loved the way he played the match play, almost played himself into Augusta. I actually thought he did play himself into Augusta, ended up being the bubble boy, 51, was world golf ranking 51 after the match play, and the top 50 get in. So bubble boy, maybe he comes back with a vengeance, continues to be playing well. Billy Horschel, just think Billy Horschel's a really good golfer. He hasn't had the best of form as of late, but just think he's a really good golfer. It only takes 1 week to kind of catch lightning in a bottle. KH Lee, I really like, and then put Scheffler here. So one thought that I had was, one, we know people are chasing the biggest prize pools, the 50K guaranteed cash for rare versus only 10K for this single entry. So I thought if people were playing Scheffler and they're playing their core Schefflers up in these rare contests, maybe they're playing most of him over here. So rather than playing a Scheffler over here core, even though I'm giving up some upside here, I just decided to play him in the single entry to see if ownership is a little lower on Scheffler in this contest. We'll find out if that ends up being the case, but that's one of the theses that I'm trying to evaluate this week and understand, again, a bit more about contest selection. All right, I'm coming back over to the chat. Realize I'm kind of ignoring the chat here. So Micah, first of all, JM. Micah asks, have you thought about rotating into teammates for next week? Yeah, good point. Next week is a little bit of a strange event. I'm not actually sure I know the scoring that will happen fully yet for next week event, but next week will be a team event. I think a couple of things. We only know a couple pairings right now. I believe it's Morikawa and Homa are playing together. So really, I really like Morikawa this week. Wrote him up. Homa, kind of interesting use case right now. Was really hot in the beginning of the year. Didn't play his best last week of the Masters, but a lot of people, especially in our Discord, had said Homa just doesn't have great course history at the Masters. So maybe it's just a place that Max doesn't play that well, and maybe he gets back on track at a place like Harbor Town. We'll find out. I still think Max has elite talent, some of the best upside in the game. Maybe not the upside of John Rahm, Scotty Scheffler, Rory when he's playing well, but definitely has pretty elite upside. So still comfortable there. I did see, trying to consume as much Rainmaker content as I possibly can as well. Did see friend Jason Roslin said Thigala and Suh on his video this morning. Think that's a very potential, very good pairing. Thigala, I think, is going to continue to catch some steam because of how well he played at the Masters on Sunday. Props to him. Ended up finishing T7, I believe. T12 will get into the Masters next year. So he automatically gets himself into the Masters. And I'm sure that gives him a mental boost, a feeling of I belong here as someone who is sorting out his sophomore year on the PGA Tour, trying to get his first win. Any sort of mental edge that you can have on a field this strong, and next week field, I think will definitely be weaker. So he could be, one of the best plays next week. So yeah, definitely an interesting one. I will continue to look at next week's pairings, but yeah, haven't spent a ton of time, frankly, looking at that. And I do think, rightly said by Micah here, if you can continue to plan your events, 1 to 2 weeks in advance, there's edge to be had in Rainmakers. We saw it at the Valero with Tyrrell Hatton. Tyrrell Hatton was at the top of the odds board. Most of his prices continued to jump throughout the week. I don't think we ever really saw a fall in price. So it was clearly people that wanted to build lineups and teams that had Hatton in it. Unfortunately, golf variants hit the line, hit the buyers that week, if you will, because Hatton didn't make the cut at Valero. But I think in general, if you can get a sense of who's playing in these upcoming contests, who might be favorited from an odds standpoint, who might be good plays, you can get ahead of some soft pricing and eat up a floor in the marketplace, and a different way to explore and play Rainmakers. Not only to get those people and those golfers into your lineups, but also maybe to flip some of those cards in the marketplace and then go after what you think is a better long-term buy. So yeah, adequately said by Micah, and continue to try to play in advance as much as you can. What else do we got? Zurich site has a large team list up now. Yeah, head on over to the Zurich site. I have not spent much time doing that. We'll do so as we get through the rest of the week. But the team format is definitely going to be fun. A lot of wrinkles in the PGA Tour schedule with the designated events, with such strong fields, with the match play that we had now with this Zurich Classic where it's a team format. Definitely a lot of wrinkles where there's probably some continued edges to be had. Okay, let's jump back over to Lineup Builder. So I showed you a little bit of how you move guys in and out of the Lineup Builder. Let's go Henley there, save this lineup. One thing I wanted to cover, as this was a question in our Discord, is if you've got, I'm going to take Scotty and Vic out of my lineup here. I'm going to build some core teams. So one thing that has been discussed, and I think this will continue to happen as new people come to the game and rip starter packs, as we continue to see starter packs being available and being ripped open, you just have a better percentage of golfers like Scheffler, Hovland, Schauffele, Rahm, the best players in the world. So can you play all of these guys together, and can you win even if you don't play them together? I think there's a couple of things here. When you do play them together, I certainly think you can, but I think you have to get different at least one spot. So if you're going to play the likes of, for me, example, Scheffler, Hovland, Schauffele, Cam Young, and I'm going to play these guys in one lineup, as just because they're the best odds. I think here I would not opt to play Tiro Hatton, but I might go down to the mid range or even further down to someone like Kuchar, who's played really well here, someone that has really good course history. Maybe you're getting into kind of JT Poston range. In my collection, you get down pretty quickly, but I think you just need to get different in one spot in order to ship this. No matter what, at the core level, there are so many lineups. It is the in the money percentages continue to get smaller from the most case, and you're going to need to get pretty near perfect. So I think try to think of that when you're building your teams. And of course, there's going to be weeks where the quote unquote chalk hits, and there's going to be weeks where, like the Valero and someone like Tiro Hatton misses the cut and doesn't has the best odds, misses the cut, doesn't make the weekend, screws a lot of lineups. And that's how you can get ahead in golf, by maybe fading or not captaining someone like Hatton. And I think that's good at the core and maybe even the rare level. But I do think if you're building teams, I wouldn't be too concerned about playing chalk together at least in 3 spots. In my opinion, I think you can do that. And we're still just so early into this game type that there isn't evidence that it's beneficial to be fading or trying to get too cute with some of the top plays. So that's just my take on that. I do think, let's say you have 2 lineups that don't have, and shout out Berg in our Discord, he asked this earlier. I was thinking a lot about this. He had 2 lineups that don't have the legs of Scheffler, Hovland. I think his one stud was Xander. And if you're building kind of knowing you have Xander and then basically getting into this mid tier of 2000 plus 2000 and above, I think you definitely can ignore the odds some, play into things like course history some, or a statistical category that you might like that plays well at a course, and embrace some differences versus just going straight odds. I just think golf variance will continue to hit guys in these sort of long shot category with these deeper odds, can easily make the cut, can easily then run up the board. There's just a really, really strong pool of golfers in today's game. And I think in general, I don't think you should get too scared when you're sort of in the mid range trying to put lineups together. I think you can go off the board a little bit to get different in some of these contests that have lower in the money percentages and they have more entries in them. Okay. Wanted to hit on those couple of things. Wanted to take a look at updated. Let's see what I did with core here. Wanted to take a look at updated entries in core. So yeah, I'm just taking a look. So I put a lot of people in this 50K guaranteed cash in core. I still think if you're playing core, probably the most fun contest is this one with the most prizes, and it has the most entries. But again, I'm just sort of embracing that I need to get 3 guys in the top 10 at a minimum to have a good sweat, and you probably need the winner, maybe even need the winner as your captain. You really just have to nail it pretty perfectly. And so, like I said, I kind of put together teams that I feel comfortable with taking some shots, captains that might be a little different or off the board, but I'm putting a lot into the guaranteed contest at the core level. I think at rare, that's where I'm kind of trying to get more insights into contest selection. How are people playing cards like Scheffler's, Rahm's, Hovland's? Where are they playing them? And is there contests where they're less played? And then therefore I want to try to exploit that. So trying to do a bit more contest deep dives, if you will, for this tournament and how we approach lineup building. All right. Let's see what else. Do we have any other questions? Heading over to the Discord here. Yeah, a lot of people are mentioning things in Discord about contest selection. I think it's a fun thing to think through. I'll have some more insights of that after this week with this rare and elite, trying to judge based on how lineups looks. I'm really interested to know what percentage of Scotty Scheffler's at rare are there in single entry versus this guaranteed. And I know the pack parties continue to be pretty popular. I think we're continuing to see more and more entries in them. But I still think we're very early in the schedule. If you take a look at where we are, we're only 6 tournaments in. This will be our 7th tournament. There's still 20 plus tournaments ahead of us. I'd still be trying to bolster your collection as much as possible because we've got premium for the next 2 weeks. Then we're back to a deluxe prize pool, then premium, then deluxe. I mean, we just have a lot of really strong prize pools ahead of us, a lot of fun golf tournaments. So I would be still taking a look at those pack party contests as long as they're, it's adding to your collection. It's adding to the fun, knowing you might get a dud in that pack party. But, knowing there's upside, there are Schefflers, Rahms, Xanders, Cantlays, Rorys to be pulled. And if you pull one of those, it sort of changes your entire outlook at how you approach Reignmakers going forward for the rest of the season, which I think is pretty fun. All right. That said, let's take a look. I want to take a look here at Rare. I've been using Rare Market as a sense of if there are any good buys out there at 4:17 p.m. ahead of a 6 a.m. lock to come down. Rory out, so his price is dipped a little bit from Rahm and Scheffler. That could be performance driven, but he's pretty lockstep with Cantlay, so not really much to write home about there. Scheffler, Morikawa at $95. I made the decision to not pay up, even though I wrote up Morikawa. That might come back to bite me if Colin goes on and wins. I think this $95 is pretty interesting, knowing that he's just going to play in so many events, all the big events, and will be kind of a stud golfer that's at the top of the odds board pretty much every time he tees it up. TJ is on Cam Young this week. I said this in the article. TJ on an absolute heater has given out the winner 2 weeks in a row, gave out Corey Connors at Valero, gave out Rahm at the Masters on the Monday recap and preview show, likes Cameron Young. And I don't think he doesn't stand out to me as a play, but I've been listening to a ton of stuff and a ton of people talk around fantasy industry, just around golf. And most people say Cam Young's game kind of is super well-rounded at this point that he travels. I think of Young as someone who hits the ball really far. If there's a course where driver comes into play a lot, I'd be more interested in playing Young. But hey, TJ's on an absolute heater, so would not be shocked to see Cam Young near the top of the leaderboard this weekend. Justin Thomas hasn't played great, but in terms of golfers that can turn it on, actually, I think this number, maybe it hasn't risen up a little bit, but he's plus 2,500. I believe on DraftKings and DFS, the quote that I heard is Justin Thomas is 8,900, I believe. He hasn't been 8,900 literally in like 5 years. And the last time he was 8,900, he went out and won the golf tournament. I would not be shocked if Justin Thomas wins this golf tournament. His game is definitely not where he wants it to be, but I think his miscut at the Masters is one of a very big anomalies where he was playing in sort of the worst of the weather, and he went from like a 98% chance to make the cut and missed the cut by a shot, ended up going like bogey, par, double, par, bogey in the last 5 or 6 holes, which was pretty insane. Got his buddy Tiger Woods into the cut, into the weekend, only to see Tiger ultimately withdraw, but pretty cool to see Tiger make the cut again and to continue that professional streak of never missing a cut at the Masters. All right, let's back to rare pricing here. 88 for Homa, 82 for Hovland. I mean, $82 for Hovland and 88 for Homa. Maybe it's recency bias, but I would say that spread is too big right now. Hovland definitely playing really well. I've been impressed with his chipping and his putting. Always was Hovland's downfall. But if he figures out how to putt and chip, and the way he putted and chipped at the Masters was overall pretty good, I think he can absolutely go low, and this could be a great golf course for him. So like Hovland, like his trajectory, like all the things that he's doing. Matt Fitzpatrick is one that's interesting to me for $55 at the rare level. This course just screams Matt Fitzpatrick just has every iron shot in the bag, has been playing pretty well, is seemingly fully healthy, and he could make some noise here. So Matt Fitzpatrick is an interesting one, and I think could make some noise this weekend as well. All right, I think that kind of covers most of who I wanted to go through and take a look at. Went through all of the tools. Like I said, head on over otmnft.com, Reignmakers Pro, where the new tab is here, and take a look at all of these products and tools that we put together. Jump on over into the Discord. I mean, the Discord Reignmakers PGA channel has been my favorite channel for since we've got it live, and everyone seems to be loving it over there. We've had some really big winners. Shout out to Glib, shout out to Giant Hammer, shout out to several others who have been winning on a pretty consistent basis and pretty big. Have had some great sweats. TJ had an awesome sweat at the Players. I unfortunately haven't had too much of a sweat just yet. But I think if JT Poston can do what he does around this golf course, maybe we'll have a little bit of a sweat this weekend. So looking forward to it. We'll continue to do this type of content on Wednesday. We'll try to get this show open on Tuesday. If you have questions, comments, thoughts, would love to go through it on the show. Pump them in the Discord, pump them in the show comments, pump them in the YouTube channel, and I'll make sure to go through them 1v1s, any other decisions. Jump in the Discord. Tons of great insights over there. Love what is happening related to the Reignmakers suite of games, and specifically what we've got going for golf right now, and some ideas that we've got in the future. So should be a fun weekend of golf. We'll be in the Discord, 6 a.m. start time tomorrow. So get your lineups together. I'll be tracking those entries across contests. And like I said, look for a bit more contest analysis and lineup analysis, especially between single entry and the biggest guaranteed prize pools for core, rare, and elite this week. Going to be part of the analysis that I'm taking a look at and putting together for next week's Tuesday article. All right. All that said, I think that does it for today. That will conclude the show. That is all the questions. Jump on over in the Discord. Hit me with any questions you got. Until next week, I will talk to you guys all then, and in the Discord. See you next week, and see you all on the leaderboards.